Peace be upon you, dear brothers and sisters. A remarkable incident took place once again in Los Angeles, causing a massive uproar on social media. There was a church consumed by fire, and according to witnesses, nearly everything inside was reduced to ashes. However, amid that devastation, something extraordinary happened that reportedly compelled many people to proclaim the Islamic testimony of faith. This fire, people say, will be remembered for a long time, largely because some have interpreted it as a form of divine punishment descending upon America from Almighty God. At the same time, rumors have circulated that a substantial number of individuals converted to Islam during this incident, a piece of news allegedly kept hidden by major American media outlets. The explanation offered is that people are embracing Islam so quickly that certain groups cannot comprehend what might be fueling such a surge. Those who believe deeper reasons lie behind the event point to possible miracles unfolding along with the flames. When the fire first broke out in the Los Angeles area, a church stood in a neighborhood inhabited mostly by Christians. Many of them harbored a sentiment that the Jewish people had committed various injustices, and that the punishment raining down on them could spill over onto others. When the fire began spreading in the vicinity, the Christian priest advised local men and women to seek refuge in the church. He reassured them that, according to their faith, if the flames reached near the holy site, they would subside. He insisted that God would protect everyone sheltering under his roof. About 150 people, including men, women, and children, gathered inside, convinced that fire could not breach what they believed to be a sacred place. As the blaze drew closer, firefighters and security personnel repeatedly issued warnings through megaphones, insisting that everyone should leave immediately. They claimed the fire was heading straight for the church and that anyone inside would face grave danger unless they evacuated. Despite these urgent alarms, the group refused to budge, holding fast to their conviction that their faith and the sanctity of the church would protect them. Some local news channels and social media feeds carried short video clips, capturing the tense moments inside and outside. In these brief recordings, people could be heard praying loudly, asserting that their collective supplications would extinguish the flames. Conditions deteriorated faster than anyone expected. The fire began licking at the outer walls, and the interior started to heat up dramatically. Firefighters outside sprayed water and retardant foam, but the blaze seemed uncontrollable. Its roar grew louder, an ominous reminder of how close the danger had come. Although some of those inside were now visibly frightened, many remained resolute, filming themselves and promising to show the world that they would be saved by divine intervention. Over time, however, even the most dedicated among them felt the tension rise. The flames raced up the sides of the church, breaking through windows, sending embers floating onto pews. A large crack spread across the roof, threatening to cave in. With the flames closing in, the priest urged people not to lose hope, but a few panicked individuals managed to escape through a side entrance before the debris fully blocked it. In the chaos, others watched helplessly, convinced there was nowhere else to run. The priest himself seemed torn, urging people to remain steadfast, yet unable to deny the terrifying speed with which the fire had taken hold. Some began to doubt their original conviction, whispering that if their religion were truly correct, the fire would not have been allowed to reach them. A few speculated in desperation that maybe the calamity was the result of wrongdoing by others, or even triggered by the prayers of Muslims, as they saw no logical reason for the flames to spare them. At that critical moment, a single voice rose from the smoke. A young man began invoking God, though nobody recognized his words at first. He then started reciting something audibly in Arabic. Those nearby were taken aback, startled to hear Quranic verses echo in a place they had never expected. They asked him directly if he was Muslim, and he said no, explaining that he practiced no specific religion, but had read about different faiths in a personal quest for spiritual truth. He had come across Ayatal Qursiy in his studies of Islam. He called it a powerful supplication used by Muslims seeking divine help. He had memorized it in case he ever faced an overwhelming crisis, hoping to discover whether the God of the Muslims would truly intervene. Now, with flames advancing and the church's roof on the verge of collapse, he felt he had nothing to lose by reciting this verse. Because falling debris had blocked the main entrance, the young man stood at the front, near the obstructed doorway, while others crowded behind him. The heat was suffocating and the air thick with smoke. Soot stung their eyes and the roar of the fire made it nearly impossible to hear. Even so, his voice gained strength with each recitation of Ayatal Qursiy. Around him, people listened in a mixture of awe and desperation, some silently making their own promise. If these words truly saved them, they would embrace Islam. He recited the verse once, then twice, continuing despite the oppressive conditions. On the seventh recitation, an astonishing turn of events reportedly took place. Witnesses said the fire at the entrance began to die down, as if a sudden gust of wind had deprived the flames of their oxygen. The embers that had been dancing in the air seemed to fade. The insufferable heat at that specific spot started to dissipate, and the general roar subsided just enough for everyone to notice. At that precise moment, another section of the weakened roof collapsed in such a way that it smothered the remaining flames near the door. Realizing they finally had a path out, the people inside rushed through the smoking debris. Coughing and tearful, they emerged into the open air, where startled firefighters quickly helped them to safety. Outside, an astounding scene unfolded. Many of the survivors dropped to their knees, weeping, and some pressed their faces to the ground in an act resembling prostration. The firefighters, initially prepared for the worst, were taken aback. Their radio reports had led them to believe anyone trapped in that building likely would not survive. Yet here was a large group escaping almost unscathed, some still calling out in Arabic phrases they had learned minutes earlier. Amid choking sobs, several insisted that Islam's truth had been proven to them at the moment the verse was recited, crediting the miraculous cool-down in the flames to God's intervention. Those who had filmed from inside shared footage that soon found its way onto social media. Viewers worldwide saw images of a burning church, the glowing orange flames, and silhouettes of terrified people. Then, at one sudden point, the glow around the entrance diminished, and clusters of survivors appeared through the smoke. Although many skeptics argued that a change in wind direction or last-minute firefighting efforts caused the dramatic shift, eyewitnesses stood by their account that the timing perfectly coincided with the repeated recitations of Ayatal Qursiy. Dozens claimed that they had felt a surge of calm and hope sweep through them at that exact moment. In interviews with independent social media channels, some of the survivors described what they saw as a powerful sign that transcended their prior beliefs. Men and women who identified as devout Christians spoke of a spiritual force that they had never experienced, one that they believed saved them from certain death. Several declared they were immediately drawn to Islam by the event and intended to learn more. They spoke of the tears they shed, the overwhelming gratitude they felt, and how the unstoppable flames seemed to recede just enough for them to escape. Many also noted that these experiences were not given primetime coverage on major American networks. Whether that was due to editorial choices, lack of verifiable evidence, or overshadowing by other breaking news, it added to the rumors that officials wanted to suppress any footage that might show large numbers of people adopting a new faith. However, cell phone videos and first-person stories circulated widely on smaller platforms, igniting debates among viewers. Some questioned the plausibility of it all, while others regarded it as a clear example of divine grace. In certain circles, the fire was framed as a manifestation of God's punishment, a retribution that ironically led many to discover a spiritual path they had never before considered. According to those present at the church, about 150 individuals escaped that night, and a significant number of them announced their intention to convert to Islam soon afterward. They testified that they had witnessed an unmistakable sign of the potency of a Quranic verse. As for the young man who recited Ayatal Qursiy, he was reported to be in a state of shock, stunned by the intense reaction of the people who credited him with saving their lives. He emphasized that he took no credit and that he too was humbled by what he regarded as God's intervention.